Taylor Baldwin. On today's Taylor Time, we're bringing awareness to men and women about domestic violence. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and San Diego is home to the country's first women's-only rehab facility that specializes in treatment surrounding relationship abuse and substance use disorders. Joining us now is Jessica Yaffa, the author of Mine and Tell: My Journey Into and Out of the Arms of an Abuser. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jessica. You know, the statistics about women getting abused are astounding. 1 in 4 women in the U.S. will be abused by an intimate partner. Not to mention 1 out of 10 teenagers are physically abused by someone they're dating. And I guarantee you the masses do not know this.
That's right.
So tell me, how did you learn about this, and what inspired you to write the book and help so many women, especially creating this facility?
I have personal experience with domestic violence. My ex-husband is serving a 29-year prison sentence. He's been incarcerated since February 2001. And it was in my own process of healing that I began to get really clear about the fact that I had a gift, really an opportunity to make a set of what was supposed to be very traumatic circumstances into an opportunity for a triumphant story that would potentially impact the lives of survivors around the globe.
Is this action in itself healing to you with all the pain that you've gone through and all the scars you must have from this years of abuse?
Absolutely. I think that we all struggle to find purpose in our tragedy, and so ultimately to be able to ensure that not only would those that are reading the book, but those that come for treatment at the Restoration Inn are really able to find their own purpose as a result of the purpose that I have found certainly speaks volumes for me and my journey.
Let's talk about 1 in 4 women in the U.S. will be abused by an intimate partner. That's not, there's no, it doesn't matter where you come from. There's no social status on that. So it doesn't matter what class, like middle class, right?
That's right.
Upper class, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race.
No.
Does it matter age? It's just...
No, there are no, statistically we know that there are no barriers to who this affects. And so no matter where we come from, no matter whether we are rich or poor, black, white, brown, no matter if we've grown up in households where there has been abuse, ultimately we are all at risk. And that means that if you've not been personally affected, it is likely that your mother, your sister, your wife, your best friend, a coworker will be or has been, and ultimately that means that it is all of our responsibility to take a stand.
And so many times, my mother used to be a deputy district attorney, and we would talk about cases that she had, and she would help the woman, and they would go back to the abuser. It was what they knew. It was almost, to some of the people, some of the victims, that became what was normal. That was their norm.
Right.
To break that cycle. And people would think, you know, would stereotype, well, what is wrong with that person? Why would she go back? But it goes so much deeper than that. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So we know that for those that end up in abusive relationships, we often walk into relationship with very low self-esteem, with feelings of lack of value or lack of self-worth. And so ultimately we're looking for somebody else to give us that sense of value and worth. And when we have someone who is wanting to know where we are all the time, is wanting to spend all of our time, all of their time with us, is monitoring who we're friends with and where we're going, and wanting to have access to us 24 hours a day, for someone who is struggling to feel like they matter or are seen, that feels really good. And so it can be very easy initially to fall into the trap that ultimately will become abuse.
How often is this cycle repeated when either the man has watched his father beat his mother, or the victim, the female, has watched the mother, her mother, get abused by her father? How often does that pattern start?
Statistically, 70% of those that grow up in violent households will either be attracted to someone who is going to perpetrate violence or will become an abuser themselves. So the statistics speak to a very high number of those that will be repeating the cycle without some form of pretty significant intervention.
Yeah, I would imagine it becomes part of their subconscious.
Absolutely.
Right, their norm, and then they just go on autopilot. They don't even realize it.
That's right.
And that's why intervention is so important.
Yes.
So how long? I mean, congratulations. The
Thank
first facility in the country for women only?
There are other facilities that specialize in women only. This is the first facility that really focuses on relationship trauma and substance misuse. So Practical Recovery's Restoration Inn has been really intentional in looking at substance misuse as a coping mechanism and recognizes that substance misuse is really just a symptom of the underlying issue, and that ultimately these women are deserving of the opportunity to heal all of the trauma that sits beneath that use.
And that's the Band-Aid. They're using the substance as a Band-Aid.
That's correct.
This infection that will not cure itself unless they get intervention.
Correct.
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic thing, and
Thank
it
you.
is Domestic Abuse Violence Month. Talk about that.
It is. So we have an opportunity really to stand tall, each and every one of us, in any number of ways. No Silence, No Violence, which is my nonprofit organization, has a number of San Diego-based activities happening this month. And so for more information about that, you can certainly go to the No Silence, No Violence website. There are other nonprofits here in San Diego who are also facilitating all sorts of activities. Down at the Civic Center, we're doing a Walk in Her Shoes event. We often honor those that have lost their lives to domestic violence during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so all of that information can be found on websites like Center for Community Solutions and some of the others that specialize in this as well.
This is so important because if mothers are getting abused in front of their children, it's almost, you know, there's a high chance that your daughter who's watching will then become a victim herself, or the son that's watching will then go on to be an abuser. So get help. What do you say to those women out there that are being abused right now, or they know somebody that is?
They're not in this alone, that there are those around you that want to be your voice when you're feeling voiceless, that there are resources out there to keep you safe and to help you walk forward in your healing process, and that although you may feel really stuck, ultimately there are always answers available, and you're not supposed to know how to do this alone, which is why we're here.
And for teenage girls who are getting abused and they're too ashamed to tell their parents.
This is nothing to be ashamed of or about, that ultimately we are deserving of an opportunity to recognize that our worth and value comes from within and not from a relationship outside of us, and that in order to walk forward without shame and self-judgment, ultimately you're giving a gift to those that you love and care about by being able to model that they can do the same.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.